Gohan and Goku are transformed into Super Saiyans, one in front of the other, ready to start their fight. At this moment, Goku is really impressed. It has been a long time since he had to face Gohan in a fight, and he wanted to see how strong his son had become. Goku is the first to attack and goes towards Gohan with everything he's got. Gohan dodges, but still gets hit by a kick from Goku that makes him stagger. Gohan looks at Goku and says, "Dad, you really are incredibly powerful. I don't know if I can beat you, but I know I can hit you." Gohan closes his fist and throws an incredible punch. Goku dodges and then receives a sharp kick that throws him away. The battle is starting to get interesting though. In another corner of the planet, Vegeta is alone in his training. Vegeta concentrates his ki and begins to transform into a Super Saiyan. He starts delivering several blows in the air, hitting a rock, which disintegrates. Then Vegeta says, "I can't lose to Kakarot. I need to get stronger." Everyone is training hard. The Z Warriors were looking towards to the tournament that took place in 9 days. Hey, how's it going? Just here to remind you to click the like button, subscribe here to the channel so you don't miss any videos, and stay well inside our entire universe of Dragon Ball. Let's go back to the point. Krillin is training when suddenly number 18 arrives and says, "Krillin, I bought you some juice. Come and freshen up. You're training so hard." Krillin goes to number 18 and takes the juice and says, "Oh my, this juice is wonderful." 18 says, "Yes, I made it especially for you." And with a death glare, she says, "If I lose the tournament prize after I gave up winning the television at Bulma's house, I'll kill you." Krillin in panic responds, "No, my love, I'm going to win. You'll see." So Krillin goes back to training. Meanwhile, in the palace of the ancient gods, time is questioning. "My brothers and sisters, it is no longer time to send our warrior to Earth. Because there on Earth, there are only 9 days left to start the tournament." In that instant, Chaos responds, "I would have already sent him and he wouldn't even have to go through this tournament, you idiots." So Reality says, "I already warned you that he can lose. Be realistic. My brothers tells the time. Call up my brothers. Our warrior is ready to go." At that moment, Danketsu says, "I will not let them down. I will defeat this Beyonder Goku." At that moment, the ancient gods put their hands towards Danketsu. A strong light begins to emerge, and Danketsu is slowly teleported to the planet Earth. Arriving on planet Earth, Danketsu is surprised, as he has never seen such beautiful planet before. Danketsu is impressed with the place. Then he begins to wonder why the ancient gods want the destruction of the being from this place. He shakes his head and starts to say, "I need to stay focused. My masters gave me an order." And at that moment, he passes by a coffee shop and stops because he had never seen or smelled anything like that before. He stops and looks at what would be a cupcake. When he don't, he observes that Videl leaves the cafeteria and she passes by him and notices that he is standing there watching things. Then Videl goes on and says, "Hey, how's it going?" Danketsu answers, "Yeah, I'm just admiring how perfect everything here seems to be." So Videl says, "You want to experience something?" He says, "Yes." "Do you want to taste something from around here?" And then he says, "Yes," and points to a muffin. Videl invites him for coffee and then spends hours talking. In the meantime, we're back to training the Z Warriors. Goku and Gohan continue to fight an intense and arduous battle. Goku pummels his son with several punches and kicks Gohan counterattacks using his speed to distract Goku, who is impressed and says, "Gohan, my son, congratulations, you're really strong. You don't even look like it, but my little boy, you're strong." Gohan smiles and continues to fight as he doesn't want to lose to his father. Then Gohan stops in the air and asks, "Dad, you know, Dad, having a child makes life so different." Goku then responds, "Yeah, Chichi was also strange and very hungry though. Then her belly started to get huge, and when I least expected it, she started screaming, and then I heard you cry." And that was my experience. Gohan is horrified by what happened to his father and begins to think about Videl. On the other side of the planet, in the cafeteria, Videl sneezes, looks around and says, "Someone's talking about me." Then she smiles. Danketsu doesn't understand why she sneezed and said someone was talking about her, so he asks, "Videl, You can hear what people say from around the world? Vidal responds,
It's more than that, and of course not. It's just an expression we use when we sneeze.
Vidal says goodbye and says she needs to go. But if he wants to meet her tomorrow, she would be there too. She walks away and then leaves. So Dunketsu questions the old gods. My lords, why do you want destruction? The beings of this planet are not so strong and it doesn't even seem like a threat to our majesties. At this moment he hears a voice. You have duties on Earth. Fulfill them and you will be well rewarded. He goes to the big arena where the tournament will take place and registers. At this time, he's faced with Mr. Satan and Mr. Boo. And he sees Mr. Satan walking with his hat down and says, What a bummer. I could wipe out all these warriors right now. Mr. Boo answers,
More, Mr. Satan? Weren't you just shaking and hiding?
Mr. Satan answers, But of course not. I was just, training a new power. When Dunketsu passes through them, a very powerful energy hangs in the air. Mr. Satan feels oppressed by that pressure and hides behind Boo. Then asks, What is your name? Dunketsu says, It doesn't matter. I hear what you said, and I'd love to beat you up in the tournament. I'll be waiting for you there. So Dunketsu continues on his way, and Mr. Satan tremendous says to Boo, Will you help me? Mr. Boo, please help me. At that moment, Boo looks from the corner of Mr. Satan and answers more, and
Of course. I already told you that I would defeat everyone and let you defeat me with just one punch.
Mr. Satan feels relieved and finally manages to breathe normally. Meanwhile, in Piccolo's training, he continues to concentrate and meditate. He thinks, I need to improve my Bakanko Sampo technique. I need to improve my Bakanko Sampo technique. It's not complete yet. I need to improve this technique. I want to surprise everyone, especially Gohan. Krillin manages to hone his most powerful attack, Kienzan. Number 18, seeing Kurlin's effort, says,
He has a chance to win. I will finally have a television bigger than Bulma's.
Tenshinhan is full steam ahead training when he comes across an unusual being. He comes across Dunketsu and says, You have a strange presence. Dunketsu looks at that being and sees that he also has an unusual power. And he says, Where are you from? Sometimes I feel a little confused. But more accurately, I'm going to ask you, what is your name? Tenshinhan answers his name, and Dunketsu continues to say, You're not who I'm looking for. You know, a Goku guy? I don't know if it's right, but I need to destroy him. Tenshinhan then starts to say, You're a very strange being. I don't know if you're good or bad, but if you want to destroy one of my friends, I'll have to stop you. Dunketsu answers, Maybe I can fight you and put an end to my boredom. So he goes to attack Tenshinhan. Then he releases all his energy made by the union of all the old gods. Tenshinhan jumps in the air and flies away from there because the pressure of those powers is impressive and he wouldn't stand a chance. So Tenshinhan goes to Goku's house. He arrives there and doesn't find anyone. At that moment, he sees Chi-Chi washing the dishes and asks, Chi-Chi, where's Goku? Chi-Chi responds,
I don't know, he's training with Gohan. He doesn't even remember that he exists.
Chi-Chi keeps saying,
He went over there.
And points to the side towards Tenshinhan, who immediately flies away. He finds Goku and Gohan training and says, Goku, I need to talk to you. Goku loses concentration and takes a kick from Gohan that sends him flying towards the ground, making a hole where he had been thrown. At that time, Gohan sees and asks, Dad, are you okay? Did I hurt you? Goku smiling responds,
No, Gohan, I just lost my concentration a little.
No, Gohan, I just lost my concentration a little bit. Just wait here. We'll continue fighting later. Goku uses his teleportation and goes to Tenshinhan and says, What happened, Tenshinhan? The terrified Tenshinhan says, I found a very powerful being that didn't seem to be from this planet. He almost faced me, but I ran away from it. And from the looks of it, to me, he has no sense of right or wrong. He just had a bewildered and cold look. That being's very powerful, Goku. Maybe we'll have problems with him on the loose out here. Goku calmly responds, There, Tenshinhan. If he causes problems, we'll fix it, okay? Now there are only 8 days left for the tournament. Dunketsu, who had been sent to Earth in order to participate in Mr. Satan's tournament, and so to test what Goku's strengths are, he found himself in a dilemma. He didn't know if he was a good or evil being. He didn't know if it should be good or bad. Dunketsu had a pure soul, but he had many doubts in his mind. At that moment, we can observe Dunketsu on a busy street in a northwest region of the country, in a gigantic and populous city. In this city, the great tournament would take place. That moment, very strong winds begins to emerge. Sky darkens, clouds begin to form. A big storm is about to start. Many people pass from one side to the other in a hurry, some covering their heads with something they held in their hands, others with umbrellas, and the raindrops begins to fall. Dunketsu runs to a corner of the street where he tries to hide under the balcony of an establishment that had 2 floors. Having a small balcony where Dunketsu sits while he sees several people walking around him. He notices that he's ignored most of the time. Dunketsu just watches as everyone passes him. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, Gohan, Tenshinhan, and Goku finish their training and head back to Goku's house so they can have something to eat. After all, Goku was hungry. Gohan asks Tenshinhan, Did the weird guy you talked about seem to be strong? Tenshinhan answers, I can't say I couldn't feel his ki, but his presence was very weird. Goku starts to say, Wow, that's amazing. I mean, even if you couldn't find him, but still, that's amazing. Tenshinhan says, Man, I couldn't face him at all. Just the presence he had made me want to run away. Goku is impressed and extremely curious to meet that being. And at that moment, Goku says, I hope he participates in the tournament then. I can't wait to fight him. Gohan and Tenshinhan looks at Goku and both smile. After all, Goku never changes. And always a battle freak. Meanwhile, Dunketsu is still sitting in the rain on that cold and lonely sidewalk. Everyone who passes ignores him. Everyone who passes pretends not to see him. Dunketsu keeps his head down, listening to the sound of cars passing by, watching people treating him like it's nothing. Suddenly, a child, a small homeless person with a newspaper on his head trying to avoid the rain, approaches and says, Hey, what are you doing here, mister? If it continues to rain, you'll get sick. Dunketsu just gets curious and doesn't say anything. But the boy reaches down and takes his hand, and he says, You don't have anywhere to go either, do you? Come with me then, we can help. The little boy with torn clothes, barefoot, and with a dirty face pulls Dunketsu by the arm and starts walking Dunketsu, and he doesn't understand very well, but starts to follow the boy. The two run to an alley where there was a large cover made with some wood and old tiles, and when they go under, they can see a hole in the wall. The boy says to Dunketsu, You can come, it's safe. And Dunketsu follows him as he enters the hole. The two find themselves inside an old shed with cobwebs again. And Dunketsu follows him as he enters the hole. The two find themselves inside an old shed with cobwebs, several broken machines with some leaks and some wet places due to the rain. The little boy says, Hey, my name is Raito, and you can enter here for a while. Dunketsu says, But do you live here? My name is Dunketsu. Why did you bring me here? Raito says, Oh, you were out in the rain, and so I thought, you might get sick, so I decided to help. Dunketsu is confused and responds, But why? Because you didn't ignore me like everyone else. And the boy says with a smile on his face, But why? Why you didn't ignore me like everyone else? And the boy says with a smile on his face, It's because I know what it's like to be out on the street alone, and I thought maybe you needed some help, so I decided to help. I live here with my brother and sister. Well, we're not exactly brothers, but they help me, and they'll help you too. Dunketsu asks, Where are they? And Raito responds, They must be scared and they hide. No. They must be scared and they hid. They're not used to seeing someone different coming here. At this time, Raito screams, Hey, Nozomi!
can leave. It's cool.
Dunketsu looks around and sees a boy and a girl. Dunketsu looks around and sees a boy and a girl emerging from under a shadow cast by a pillar. And the two say,
Nice to meet you, young man.
Heiwa approaches with a piece of bread and says,
You want it? You must be hungry. It's not much, but it will help. You can eat. You can eat with me. And my brother already ate a little, so...
Dunketsu's eyes glisten when he sees this, and he accepts the bread. The three sit on some pieces of cardboard and start talking. It seems that the weather starts to get cold due to the rain, and the children starts to shiver. Raito says,
Don't worry, when the rain stops, it'll be warmer, and then we can find some food.
Dunketsu looks at the keys and starts looking around. He gathers some scraps of old wood and paper, and in a safe place over there, next to them, he makes a pile of those things he has gathered. Dunketsu brings his hands together, looks at the stacked woods, and then places his hands on top of them. And in moments, a small spark starts to stand out. It starts to catch fire, and a small bonfire is created. And the children look at it with eyes full of joy. And Raito questions,
Are you a magician too? That's amazing!
And Dunketsu responds, I don't know, but I think so. The children approach the fire to warm up, and Nozomi was holding a flyer for a store with some food and stamped doses. And Dunketsu asks, What is that? And the boy answers,
It's just a few things to eat that I promised them, and as soon as the rain stops, I'll try to get them somehow.
Dunketsu takes the flyer and places it on the floor on top of the sheet of cardboard. And he repeats the gesture of before, and in moments a small curtain of colored smoke appears in the midst of a glow, and when the smoke dissipates we can see a feast in front of them, with all the foods that were on the flyer. Children get extremely euphoric, asking,
How did you do that? Where did all that food came from?
Dunketsu answers, You can eat. And the children are extremely happy. At this moment, we can see Vegeta, who falls to the ground on his knees and begins to undo his transformation. Vegeta says, I finally got over you, Kakarot. Elsewhere, we can see Krillin and 18 training together. And in the frozen mountains, we can see Piccolo, who is meditating. Goku, Gohan, and Tenshinhan arrive at Goku's house and are greeted by Trunks and Chi-Chi, who had already prepared a feast. Everyone eats and decides to take some time to rest. They go to the top of the mountain and stay close to the edge, watching everything. Several animals, trees, rivers could be seen from there. They lie down and look at the sky. Suddenly, Goku says to Gohan, Son, these days I had a strange dream. I dreamed that I had become a god, and my powers were greater than anything we've ever seen before, and in this dream my hair was red. Everyone looks with a face of astonishment. Apparently, Goku started having some flash of his previous life. Goku continues to say, I think it was just a silly dream, but I will train and work hard. Maybe I can raise my power to that level. Gohan looks without reaction. After all, he had no idea what Goku was talking about. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of the ancient gods, everyone was waiting anxiously for the tournament. After all, it would be in this tournament that they would find out if Dunketsu would be able to face Goku. The gods then make a big decision. Chaos then says, Brothers, is it decided? Will we see the big tournament in person? Space then responds, Yes, we will have humans' forms and we will be able to follow everything closely. Don't you agree? Everyone watches and simply say yes. The great ancient gods decide that they will assume human form so that they can see the tournament live. Things begins to unravel and the tournament will soon begin. Only five days left for the tournament. South side of the palace of the High Priestess Akai. At the moment, Gohan beside Mojito, Piccolo and Zaidos walk through the palace of the Great Priestess. Zaido looks at Gohan and Piccolo says, You two, even with Mojito's recovery, are still down. Mojito watches and says,
Well, I don't have that much recovery powers. My skills are different. You know very well that the powers of the angels are divided between them, and perhaps it would be good for you to do something, wouldn't you, little sister?
At this moment, Zaidos begins to create a large sphere of energy over Gohan and Piccolo. Gohan begins to feel his power fully rejuvenated. Piccolo also regains even more of his strength. Gohan speaks. What do you do to me? It feels like my body is getting 10 times stronger than it already was. Zaidos looks at Gohan and says, I think this is the least I can do for you. This is undoubtedly an essence of the power of the angels of Universe 13. I hope that you will recover. I hope that you recover your energy. And that will cause your latent powers to be brought back to Son Gohan, the mortal who managed to match the power of an angel. I hope you feel proud of this, because it's very rare for someone to raise their power to that level. Piccolo watches and says, You're talking about Gohan. Gohan is Son Goku's first son. If it weren't for Gohan, maybe this war would already be won by the side of the Mother of Angels. Since Gohan saved the Earth against the Demon Cell and ended up awakening several latent powers. Soon after, he defeated Majin Buu. That was incredible, and I confess that maybe now this issue of defeating an angel and fighting a demon are even his greatest achievements. Don't discredit mortals. Mortals really can do amazing things. Zaidos is fascinated and looks at Gohan in a different way. It seems like before I wanted to get rid of this kid and these guys because of what Azazel was telling me to do. But now, it seems that I really get the vision that they are fighting for a right cause. In fact, they're not even looking to find out if Zeno-sama or Daishikan are the real culprits. They just want the war to be over, and maybe if the High Priestess keeps these thoughts going, it could all lead to an end. They want a world where peace exists, where all the angels can continue to protect each other of all universes. Maybe if Sakai understood their goal. No. Maybe if Sakai understood their true goals, there could be an agreement with the High Priest and everything could be at peace. I think that would be the best situation to resolve everything. Maybe Mojito let me live for that reason of trying to convince the Mother of Angels. Mojito looks at Zaidos and says, Sister, don't be such a fool. Do you think that at some point I would need you to try to convince the Mother of Angels? Just knowing that you are on our side now, the Mother of Angels would surely annihilate her in the blink of an eye. What concerns me here is that I want to know the real truth. Gohan doesn't understand what the Angel of Universe 9 is talking about. Gohan questions, The real truth? What are you talking about, Mojito-san? Mojito looks at Zaidos and says, Zaidos know very well everything that happened in the last Celestial War. There are several kingdoms that you don't know about it here. Probably the Earth and other universes are being invaded by a horde of dragons. The Destruction Cats were also on the side. However, I still didn't see the Cold Demons. Among the Cold Demons, there are extremely powerful warriors. The Supreme Saiyans are incredible and considered for a long time as the strongest beings in the universe, and yet, you defeated Bazarat. Did you know that Bazarat is an extremely strong Supreme Saiyan who didn't even have time to show his real powers due to Goku activating his celestial power? The big question that occurs in the midst of all this is that some problems can still be created. The first one, I don't know if you know, Bazarat has a son. Gohan starts watching and says, What? Did that monster have a child with even greater powers? Zaidos speaks. Are you saying that Sakai's generals who were destroyed can still get involved in this war? Mojito responds, But don't be so silly, my dear sister. You know that very well and you're still wanting to go back to Sakai's side. If so, I'm going to finish you off right here and now. Zaidos starts to smile and says, All right, brother. I will reveal the whole truth to you, but I hope you are prepared. What does Zaidos have to reveal? Without further ado, let's get started. Planet of Destruction of Universe 18. Days ago, before the start of the second phase of the Celestial War, Bazarat, the Ultimate Saiyan, Bazarat was just watching everything that was happening. Bazarat knew that the great enemies would appear. Bazarat says, "It feels like my body is totally weakened. I think things got really complicated. After so much time of so many battles and conquering so many planets, I was supposed to be able to steal Zakai's powers. I was right. But if a war approaches, there's not much to do. Especially the mother of the angels wanting to control everything. But this will be interesting. I confess that soon I will wait for great battles to approach. Come on, I want to see how far this can go." At that moment, another voice comes up and says, "It looks like you don't get tired of fighting, do you? You never get tired of showing your true powers. You really are amazing. But I think that in the midst of all this, it's my turn to fight." At that moment, Bazarat makes a serious face and says, "I think you still don't have the essential power to win this fight. After all, you are my son. But you're light years weaker than your father." At that moment, Haki, the first son of Bazarat, appears. Haki says, "You discredit my strength too much, father. I alone could end this whole war, but you never listen to me. You always want to send other warriors, and I am the first general of the Supreme Saiyan Army of Universe 18, and I will definitely be able to win." At that moment, Bazarat says, "Funny. So what about until I regain my ultimate powers? You go to this war in my place and pose as the great Bazarat Supreme God?" Haki smiles and speaks. "Amazing. That would be a fine honor, father. Especially since I had to destroy them all in the blink of an eye. It will be very interesting to go alongside the other Supreme Saiyans." At that moment, another voice comes up and says, "Nice to meet you, Bazarat from Universe 18. I'm Zaki from Universe 14, the Supreme God of Destruction Saiyan Hybrid. I would like to talk to you." Zaki and Bazarat, the two that caused major disturbances within the entire war, had something planned from the beginning. Yet Bazarat sent his son Haki into battle to impersonate him. What's going on with all this? The truth that Zyros knew and Mohito questioned is being revealed. Flashback to the second phase of the Celestial War, Universe 18. Planet of Destruction, Saiyans. The real Bazarat receives an unusual visit from Zaki, the Supreme Hybrid Saiyan of Universe 14. Zaki says, Well, it's not my dear friend Bazarat. Let's just get down to business. A war is coming, and I have too many memories of everything that happened in the past, so I need you to hear me out." Zaki changes his face to a serious one. "I think very differently since the first Celestial War. You know very well that there are extremely strong warriors inside all universes. It would be crazy for us to imagine that alone we could defeat any enemy, no matter how great our powers." Bazarat starts laughing and says, "Are you kidding me? The Hybrid Saiyan from Universe 14 is scared?" Oh, that's funny. You must be kidding me, right? Do you think I couldn't defeat any mortal enemy? Do you think any mortal could be able to defeat a god? At that moment, Zaki answers, "You have many problems, even more involved with Universe 7. Do you remember what you did in the past with Beerus the Destroyer? Maybe. I'm not saying you couldn't beat Beerus in the past, but that betrayal will make you the first target brought straight by Universe 7. I wouldn't be afraid, but still, it's a tricky thing. Who knew that the other gods of destruction, just like Ziel himself, would have a hard time fighting some warriors? Ziel, the one who has the energy to release the essence being brought directly by the angels. Would you imagine that it could be destroyed? So it's worth thinking that we could make a different alliance. You want Zakai's powers, don't you?
I think we have something in common.
Bazarat observes and says, "What are you trying to say?"
Zaki responds, "As strong as we are, and as much as we are part of Zakai's army, you know that at some point, just like her thinking, she will want to bring out the supreme dragon god Zarama. This we can say is the true madness of the Mother of Angels, because the moment Zarama returns, he will surely want to be the supreme general of everything. Would you be able to believe in the powers of someone who can only with the strength of his thought accomplish anything?" That sounds like crazy, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what Zarama can and will do. He will want to end everything and everyone whenever he wants. He knows what he's capable of, and he knows he has powers that are the powers needed to destroy anyone he wants. It has been sealed all this time since the First Celestial War. Their combined powers were more powerful even than the High Priestess' own self. The High Priest himself still wants to resolve the situation. No, the High Priest is entrusting his powers to mortals. So why would we, the supreme gods of destruction of the High Priestess universes, entrust our bodies at the start of this war to Zakai? Can we do something different? How about sending beings that have extremely high powers and can impersonate us? Then we will know what is the true objective of the true idea of Zakai. Surely, when this war starts, the tension will be so great, and no one will be able to understand who is who anymore. When Zarama is released, he will surely send his army, and then we will be able to see extremely powerful beings emerging, and instead of being just pawns in this chess game, we will begin to see how the king and queen actually move. When we attack, it will be our checkmate." Bazarat laughs and says, "Haki! So Haki, you mean you want to fight in my place, isn't it? So I think we already have the essence of the new Bazarat being acclaimed." "Oh, you will impersonate me during the beginning of this war, and I want to see what happens." At that moment, Zaki smiles and says, "I will send an essence with 30% of my power straight to this war. So this fight will begin. Let's analyze what will happen from here." Back to current times. Mojito starts watching and says, "I find it very strange when I received the news that Zaki and Bazarat had been defeated together by Son Goku. So that means that's it. They were the first ones who were already on the side of the war. They wanted to go after the boy." At that moment, Gohan says, "What the hell are you talking about? What boy are the next two? So that means those two monsters we faced on Earth posing as Zaki and Bazarat weren't the real ones." At that moment, Zaido says, "No, you didn't fight the real Zaki and Bazarat. And probably who Goku ended up killing was the son of the true Supreme God of Universe 18 and the essence of 30% of Zaki's power. I'm saying that Bazarat, as soon as he finds out that Haki, the heir of the throne of Universe 18, has been eliminated, he will definitely want revenge." Gohan replies, "But isn't this battle that is going on between the angels enough? What could a Saiyan do more than them?" At this point, Mojito starts laughing and says, "You are a bit silly. Even because imagine that you, who do not hold the position of gods of destruction or Saiyans, only by training were they able to surpass the angels and still raise their powers to a much higher level. Imagine a supreme Saiyan god who has always been cunning and has always possessed extremely high capabilities. Imagine the level he can reach training alone, or the level he may have already reached. That might actually be a nightmare." Gohan, with his rejuvenated strength, says, "It doesn't matter. We'll finish them off." Zaido says, "That's not the big question. The big question is that some things can still change. Zaki and Bazarat thought of all this before the start of the war. Can you get an idea of how they were even ahead of the Mother of Angels? Besides being strong, they are great battle strategists. And up till now, I ask myself, what is the true ambitions of those two? Now yes, we can say that things are going to get complicated once they know about the truth about Son Goku and the truth about his son. So if you, Gohan, defeated Zyko just now, it was definitely just another obstacle that was planned by Zaki and Bazarat. Gohan says, "What do you mean?" Mohito says, "She means that now that Zyko has been defeated, Zyko's essence has again been transferred into Gon's body. So the real Gon will now be the being born in the empty dimension. At this moment, the Supreme Angelic Saiyan will recover all his powers, and who will go after him will be the Supreme God Saiyan and the Hybrid Saiyan. Zaki and Bazarat, if I were you, maybe I would run to go after Gon." Gohan says, "Damn it, that's not possible. We need to go after Gon now." Zeno smiles and says, "Good luck. You'll need it." An incredible turnaround takes place. What will happen to Gon's body? The real Zaki and the real Bazarat fooled everyone. Meanwhile, Zakai continues to fight Whis and Vados. What will Zarama do about it? Battles in all other universes continues to take place. At that moment in an empty dimension, we can see Gon unconscious. In a few moments, Gon opens his eyes. To be continued. So hey, my partner, what do you believe and what do you think about all of this? Regardless of what it is more than important that you arrive here, exposing it in your comments so that we can enter into that crazy debate. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe here to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.